Hi, and welcome to the Love Lost series with Linda K. Today, we're doing our first episode out in the park, out in nature, with the beautiful Miss Krista Kirk-Patrick. Hatch.
Yeah.
I should have missed that. Very important. So this is the first time we're going to be outdoors. So forgive us if we get interruptions or if there's distractions. But it's such a beautiful park. It's a Confederation Park at in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. So thank you for tuning in. If you're joining us for the first time, this is a Love Lost series with Linda K, where we kind of talk about all things grief. We kind of share our experiences with grief because, of course, we understand that grief is really hard. It can be a very lonely journey. My vision is that someone that's going through grief right now is able to have this support via virtually. So today I have my friend, my colleague, and a very wonderful lady. Unfortunately, just like most of us, she suffered grief, and she's just going to share with us her experience. And to any extent, like there's no rule, we're freestyling this, so we're just gonna go. It's just a chit chat conversation, just with the hope that someone that's listening to us today that has either lost a parent, a spouse, a close relative will find some comfort. I don't know if that's the right word, but yeah, so welcome. Thank you. Please do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And yeah, so welcome, Krista, and thank you for being my first guest.
Thank
you for making the time to be here. I know that it's I've known you a long time, and I know about your grief, and I am so glad that you had the courage, because it's not something, you're probably in a place where it's okay for you to have these conversations with the hope of helping somebody else.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, and yeah, I'll shut up now and I'll let Krista take over.
Well, thank you for having me too. And like I said before, it's been an honor that you asked me to join you. Quite a big fan of your series.
Thank you.
Probably one of the original fans.
Yes. And yes, it's really good to have someone that's dedicated to your cause, right? So, people can stumble on this, but when you have people that actually look forward to encourage you, give you that feedback, so that's really good. Thank you, Krista. Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Yeah,
I really do.
My pleasure. So, yeah, I guess today I'll just talk a little bit about my experience with grief and loss, and unfortunately, it's been pretty expansive for me. I'm not too old. I'm only 34, but I think my first significant loss was the loss of my mom. It's coming on 11 and a half years ago now, so it'll be 12 years in November.
Okay.
But she got sick in August of 2009. And at the time, I was just about to turn 23. So it was hard. And I have two younger sisters. One is 2 years younger, and the other is 5 years younger. And so at the time, my youngest sister was just turning 18, I think. Yeah. So it was something that really just shook the foundation of our life. It really it was something that came out of the blue, came out of nowhere, kind of just sidetracked everything, and at the time I was in university. So, I guess I'll talk a little bit about just what happened. So, it like I said, it just blindsided us. And my mom got sick from E. coli, actually. And so what happened was she had a kidney infection that she didn't know about. And she ate meat that was undercooked, got E. coli, and because of the kidney infection, the toxins just spread throughout her body very quickly. Unfortunately.
But I just want to take a minute to say I'm really sorry for your loss. I've known you, like I said, I've known you since, we're going like what?
9 years?
Yeah. So we've never talked about the details. Like we've always shared that experience with loss. My dad died 19 years ago now. But I did not know how very unexpected it worse. So I'm really like, this is taken me. This is taking a whole different dimension in my mind.
Yeah.
I'm really sorry, Krista.
No.
You're a tough lady. Like,
well, and I feel like the entire experience with my mom actually kind of toughened me up in a lot of ways.
You almost kind of had to like, be grown up, be the
I had
mom.
to grow up really fast. And I'll get into a little bit of that later. But yeah, so she ended up getting sepsis in her hands, in her feet. She didn't realize it though. So she was sick first thing in the morning, and she just thought it was a flu. She just thought, like...
No, you're young and
So she's like, I'm vomiting, I'm, having diarrhea. And she, was like, no, I'm fine. It's just the flu. And when things like took a turning point, was when she started throwing up and it was like black. And she's like, oh, something's not right. And so my stepdad took her to the hospital, and that's when they admitted her right away. And so, yeah, she had sepsis. You could see in her fingers were black, her toes were black, just from everything that had happened. And and it just, that's kind of...
Oh my God.
That was it.
Yeah, that is scary. Like, so from the point where she had, ingested this meal till the time when she went to the hospital, how long was it? A couple days?
No.
Couple hours?
It was probably half a day.
Oh no.
Yeah, so...
And then she got admitted right away?
Yeah, admitted right away. I got a call from my stepdad. I was at work at the time. I was working at a coffee shop downtown.
Oh my God, Krista. Like, you came from being at work to getting a call that your mom is...
Yeah, close to the end of my shift, actually. And my stepdad's like, no, I don't think it's anything serious. And, just maybe after work, I'll come pick you up. And, and then after work, we touched base again. And he was like, oh, it actually is a little bit more serious than we thought. And so she was admitted August 16th, I remember. And she was in the hospital for 3 months, almost 3 months to the day. And in that 3 months, she ended up getting her hands and feet amputated. Just because, with the sepsis, there was no coming back. No coming back. And so, because everything shut down, she ended up needing a trach in, and she couldn't speak for herself, and she didn't have a will.
No. So before we go into the will, just bear with me here a second.
Yeah.
So this is all happening. Like, you don't even get a point to deal with the fact that your mom is all like admitted, because the difference that I find culturally is, back home, people are admitted for everything. You get a headache, you're admitted. But in Canada, if you're admitted, that is serious. That is, you're seriously ill. So every time I hear someone is admitted, I take it very seriously.
Yeah.
So for me, this is what I'm feeling right now. It's, you get to your mom's admitted, or then she's amputated, and like, all of these things just hit you. Like, you didn't even have time to understand what's going on. Like, but this is your mom from going through all these steps, not necessarily just being ill in the hospital, but have to go through all these surgeries and all this, and changing physically, even as you remember. So that in itself is something.
Yeah, well, and that's just, it was quite...
Oh my God.
It was quite the experience, because you don't ever prepare for that. And I think, like, being so young, you don't think that it's going to happen to your mom right away. She was only 50. Oh
God.
5?
Yeah,
when she passed away. Yeah, because she was born in 64, so she was only 55.
Oh my God.
But yeah, like, no child plans for the loss of their parent that young in their life. And so, none of this, like, we didn't plan for any of this. She didn't plan for any of this. She had no will. And because she had no will, she had not listed any legal representative.
Yeah.
You know, and so we actually had to talk about, well, who was that going to be? And of course, that ended up being me. I was next of kin.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Was she married to your stepfather? They were not
No.
married. It was just a partner, living
Yeah,
partner.
yeah,
See, that's
common law.
another.
Yeah. So, and even then, like we talked about, my stepdad perhaps being, you know, the executor, and he just
He
no,
couldn't handle
he
it.
couldn't.
That was too much.
It is a lot. Like,
Oh my God, because you have to make life-changing decisions. They have to make like, oh my God.
yeah,
So,
yeah. We talked about it together as a family. My aunties, my sisters, my stepdad, and that was when we came to the decision that it would be
you should
me.
be- Oh my God.
Which, I mean, for a
And you- and
23-year-old.
I was gonna say, at 23 years old, that's not decisions you want to make. Oh my God.
Yeah, well, I couldn't even decide which program I wanted
But
to
doing-
be in
Yeah.
in university.
Yeah,
And I
that's-
was making
those-
these
yeah.
choices for my mom. So, yeah, these like tough choices that I had to make in the hospital included the amputation of her limbs, included, you know, just all of the medical interventions that we would do to her, just in terms of trying to preserve her life. And, you know, as a young child, like not very young, but a younger child,
Yeah, no.
you want your mom to live.
Honey,
you know?
23 is young. It's you're
Yeah.
a child.
Yeah, and so like making these decisions
Yeah.
were tough. And even when just before she passed away, we had a talk with the doctor, and this was maybe 2 days before things just took a turn. And he's like, no, she's doing really well, you know, like everything's looking good. And then one night, the night before she passed away, I get a call from the doctor saying, you need to come now. She's not doing good. Her health took a turn and her heart's failing.
Oh Lord.
And so, yeah, it was tough. Like that was 8:00 at night. And so I'm calling my family, you know, saying, please come to the hospital. And thank goodness, you know, we weren't in COVID times. We could all go and say goodbye to her.
Because that's a,
Yeah. Like, I'm just so glad that, you know, she was surrounded by the people who loved her most and that she loved the most. And, you know, and we could all say goodbye. And yeah, like, I think even though it's been 11 and a half years, there's lots that I still grieve.
Yeah.
You know, like,
Yeah.
I still grieve the fact that she wasn't there for my university graduation, you know, or
your wedding,
Or
or,
my
your
wedding.
baby.
or my baby, or my sister's babies.
Yeah.
You know, just, you know, like 2 years ago, was it 2 years ago or 1 year ago? Yeah, 2 years ago, my stepdad passed away.
Yeah, I remember that one
know,
too. Yeah.
My real dad passed away a couple of years ago too. So like she wasn't there for those significant, you know, life events. You know, she never got to meet my husband. She never got to meet my husband's family, which I think she would really love and get a kick out of, you know, like, yeah.
But I have to say here that I'm so happy that you found the husband. Your husband is the best. Like you,
I agree.
yes. No, like seriously, we say things and sometimes it sounds like we're trying to be polite. But Krista, your mom was looking out for you.
Yeah.
Your mom's looking. I strongly feel so, because you were in amidst of all of that, you were able to get yourself educated, get yourself a job, and find yourself a good man, because it could have gone so many ways. I mean, your background is in psychology, so you understand that this could have impacted you to the extent that you were not able to pick up the pieces.
Yeah.
So I think that she's still there. I think that she has interceded for you, and things are working out the way that she's proud wherever she is, and she's
Yeah.
happy, and she can rest. She can actually rest because she knows you're not struggling.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm being selfish and I'm talking about you. I know you have sisters, but when I look at you, I am happy that you're consoled, that you believe that, because some people don't believe that. And
Yeah.
when I say that, I think I'm trying to be polite, or but that's not what it is. Like your life, your path that has where you are now. One of the things that I like to say that my dad said to me a lot was, the greatness of a man is not where he is, it's where he's come from. So when I look at how it all started and how it's going,
Yeah, thank you.
you got this. You're doing it. Your life is exactly. And I look at little Miss K. Oh my God, did you name your mom, your daughter after your mom?
No, so my daughter's named after Ken's mom.
Oh,
And her
nice.
middle name is the middle name of my grandma. And she was actually born on my grandma's birthday.
Yes, she was. I remember that. Yeah, you said.
And yeah, I picked out the name way before I knew when she was coming. So
Okay.
the world works in mysterious ways.
Yeah, like things have just worked out
Yeah.
really good. So,
Yeah.
I mean, the Love Lost series is so thankful for your friendship, but we also want to extend our condolences. Like it's hard, but Krista, you have made it work. Please give somebody hope. Somebody be encouraged. Like I'm telling you, I'm not, and I know I said Krista is my friend, and she is my friend, but she is more than a friend. Like she is a superwoman. Like she is. If you look at what she's had to overcome to get to where she is and thriving, that should encourage you. Like it's sad. I know. It's sad. She still misses her mom, who does, like she should, but she's taking baby steps, one step. She's just wanting to survive for today, wanting to be the best person, wanting to make mom proud today.
Amen. Yeah. No, it's very true. Like everything I do thinking about that. Like what would make my mom proud, or what would make my family proud, because it's not just my mom I lost, right?
Yeah.
But of course she's my number one.
Absolutely.
She's the love of my life. So
absolutely.
but yeah, like just it's really helped to make the choices that I make in life very intentional, very thoughtful, just making decisions that I believe in my heart are good decisions, and that I believe my mom would believe are good decisions. And but that's me.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, not everybody has a path that goes that way. Like you had touched on, like some people's paths are unfortunately very destructive. Just the coping strategies that they have are not good ones. They're very negative, very destructive coping strategies. And like even my sisters, they didn't follow the same grief path as me. They still don't follow the same grief path as me, and that's okay. Like I think everybody's grief journey is unique, and they may even take you in different places. So even though there's us three sisters, we lost our mom, one went this way, one went the other way, one went this way, and that's okay. We all get to where we're needing to be in time, no matter how winding the road is or how straightforward the road is, right?
And a lot of factors, in my opinion, are to be blamed, right? They were young. I know about your sisters. I don't know the difference of the sisters, but I know about your sisters, and I didn't want to bring it up. So now that you brought it up, do you think that maybe age, because females were already so vulnerable, right? Just being a female, just being that gender makes you so vulnerable, so much more at risk than other genders. I hope I don't get in trouble saying that, but I'm a feminist.
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just find I'm trying to look at myself like the grief is so complicated that it's so hard to know how it's gonna hit you until it hits you.
Yeah, that's right.
But more importantly, through this series, we want to make sure that we're not judging We're going to encourage people to try their best to get this help, to get professional help, or whichever way. But we also, more importantly, don't want to judge. We don't want to say that that was not okay, or it's hard.
Yeah.
It's really hard.
It is hard. And one of the things I learned is there's no right or wrong way to grieve.
Yeah.
Like when I first lost my mom, like it was just complicated. Like I was the executor, and all of my energies was going towards settling her estate, dealing with lawyers, dealing with collection agencies, dealing with the bank, and I was young, and I'm comfortable to say pretty immature at the time, and like looking back, I really would have treated those people maybe a little bit more differently, but because I was freshly grieving, I just lost my mom, things were raw, and I hadn't even been able to stop to just mourn.
Yeah, exactly.
I hadn't even been able to stop to mourn. And once things kind of settled down, or I dealt with like the pressing things, that's when I actually started, like that's when it hit me. So it didn't hit me at the funeral. Didn't really hit me when she passed away. Didn't hit me until like maybe half a year later, when things just started to calm down, the dust started to settle, and I'm like, oh, she's gone. She's not coming back.
And so when it hit you, like, what are some of the things, if you can share, that you think you were doing just to manifest your anger, your frustration, your whatever it is that you were feeling through this grief journey?
Oh my gosh. Like, I'm ashamed to say I had no...
You don't have to say anything that you don't want to say.
Oh, it's okay. I think
but
normalizing it is important too, though. Yeah. So I'm ashamed to say that I had very little fuse. I didn't have a lot of patience for people. Like, I just, like, reflecting, it's like, how can you inconvenience me? I just lost my mom. Like, why do I have to jump through all these hoops? I just need to do this in order to do this, to close the estate. I had very little patience, very short fuse. I would lash out at people, unfortunately, and I'm still trying to rebuild some relationships. This is 11 years ago now.
So if you're Krista's friend and she was lashing out, please, this is the true confession. It was the grieve. Blaming the mom dying. Please. She is I am glad I met her when I did. There's still a little bit of that fuse thing that we need to...
I was going to say.
There's still a little bit of that. But for the most part, like you said, relationships were, were lost, were affected deeply.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, big time. And so, I'm still rebuilding some of those relationships because I burnt a lot of bridges. And yeah, a lot of it was just the grief response, I didn't know how to properly cope, or appropriately cope, I guess I should say, to what I was feeling. I did terrible things to people that I love.
And at that time, you didn't even know that. You just thought this. I don't think you were trying to cope. You're not even making an effort. These were just emotions that were hitting you, things that were coming at you and coming out of you because of what you're going through.
Yeah.
I mean, in hindsight, you can say, oh yeah, that was me grieving. But at the time,
exactly.
And just for the benefit of doubt, sometimes people are acting out. It's not about you that gets offended. No, there's something else going on. There's something else this person is dealing with, no matter how much time has passed.
Mm-hmm.
Their life, we have to remember that people's lives are affected, and it will manifest in its own way.
Yeah. Well, and I'm a lot gentler with myself now. When I first kind of realized, this is how I'm reacting to people, and this is what I've done to people. I was pretty hard on myself, pretty unforgiving. But, now that I'm starting to reach out to these people that I, hurt and wronged in some way, I'm being a lot kinder with myself, and also just realizing, it was the grief, but it was still not okay for me to do these things, and so I can have that conversation with people now. Whereas before, you know, it was just, I was in survival mode. I was just trying to survive. And yeah, so, but that's the thing with grief, is it can be ugly. It can be so ugly. And I don't know that a lot of people realize, you know, how it can manifest until maybe they've been through it themselves. And, you know, like even, 10 years later, after my mom passed away, now I'm like sitting down with these people that I haven't spoken to since we had a falling out, and just apologizing for, you know, the things I've said or done. And, you know, thank goodness they're all so so
They've
good.
been so supportive.
Yeah, they've been so good. And we've come to common understanding and common ground, and it's been really nice. But like, there's other ways that it can manifest that is even more destructive than that.
Yeah.
You know, like,
you
know, like substance abuse or self-harm, or, you know, heaven forbid, even suicide. And, you know, like, even my stepdad had really poor coping mechanisms. Like, he would drink, and I'm pretty sure that ended up killing him in the end. You know, like,
I was talking about that.
Yeah. You know, he just never found those appropriate coping strategies, even though they were presented to him. He just never really.
And that's another thing that I wanted us to share with those that are listening with us, is at the time it happens, when it happens, the social worker probably comes up with all this, you know, they're throwing it at you.
Yes.
At the time, it's too much information. I don't even have the courage to go, even doing this, right?
Yeah.
I'm not saying anybody who is able to do this, who has a very recent loss, is doing something wrong. Again, everyone's different, but most people I find are not open yet for a conversation like this.
Yeah.
And they break down. And most times I've told them, if you're still breaking down, that's part of your journey. Just embrace it. It's not a bad thing. Don't shy away from the conversations because you worry you're going to break down. And hopefully we're able to educate people enough that no one's judging people when they do have those emotional outbursts, because it's part of their grieving journey.
Yeah.
Can you share with us, like, can you tell us, like, what do you think helped? I mean, everyone is different, but what helped you the most? Where did you get the strength to move forward? I mean, in your daily struggles, in your daily battles, what was the hardest and what was your escape?
So I think it was when I kind of hit rock bottom. I started burning a lot of bridges. I was like all at once. And I actually had a very long-term relationship with somebody end. And I found myself alone. Like, I had burned all these bridges and just looked around, and I'm like, there was no one. And, you know, after that, I had maybe a couple weeks where, you know, like, I didn't have a direction. I didn't know where to go from there. I didn't care. You know, like, it was just black. It was just so dark and empty. And at the time I was still in university, I was still taking classes, and I just kind of did a lot of, like, reflecting, a lot of self-reflection, a lot of introspection, thinking about just not just me and my situation, but just the world. Like, I'm just this small speck in this big machine, you know, like, that is the world. And I just started thinking, you know, like, yes, my world as I know it has ended, but life goes on, you know, and I have to try and move forward with this. I have to find a way. And so I just tried to find little things every day to help me to move forward, whether that was just going and having a shower, going for a walk around the block, you know, getting to class, and I found that slow by slow, like, I started doing more and started feeling better. And I think that's ultimately what pulled me out from rock bottom. And even then, like, there was still lots of struggles after that too. Like, I just, I kept stumbling, 2 steps forward, maybe a few steps back.
Doing the dance.
Yeah, doing the dance. And, like, I feel like only recently has things really stabilized. And so, like, even though, I figured out what I needed to do, that was the first step, but then just kind of trying to figure out how to do it. And there were lots of failures, maybe roadblocks, not really failures, just, like places where I've stumbled and stuff like that. Had to pick myself up, reassess, and each time I reassessed, I started to fine tune things, like, and really understand, like, what I needed to do. And yeah, I think that's where I'm at now, is like, there were lots of things that didn't work out, but, looking back at those things and just really reflecting on those things, like, what went well, what didn't, what will I do for next time, and just kind of refining all those things. And I think that's what ultimately brought me to here. And yeah, and then even the other losses that I've endured, it's just kind of, they're all different, like, my mom was the ultimate loss for me. Who knows, like, maybe I'll experience another ultimate loss someday. Hopefully not. Oh my gosh, not too soon.
When we're 150.
I hope so, yeah. And, but yeah, and you feel these losses so different, like, I thought maybe the loss of my stepdad or my real dad would affect me as much, if not more, than my mom, and it didn't. Like,
is it the first thing that you think about? So when you hear that someone has passed, someone that you're close to, for example, when your stepdad passed, was it the first thing that came to mind? Was it your mom? Or did you get a chance to separate, in your mind, yeah, this is a death, this is somebody I care about, I am hurt, I miss them, I am affected, but my mom passed, so
it definitely wasn't my first thought. My first thought was not of my mom, it was actually of my youngest sister, just because my youngest sister is like the full daughter of my stepdad. So I was just his stepdaughter.
And she was struggling with moms. She had struggled with mom's passing.
Yeah, big time. And so, she's our youngest sibling, and it was her husband that
found stepdad.
Yeah, he had called, did a welfare check. So he had called to do a welfare check, and they did it, and yeah, that's when they found him. And so, like, that was my first thought. She's the one that called me. She could hardly get the words out, and I knew as soon as she called me, I knew what the answer was, and I'm like, I'm coming. And so my thoughts were on her. And then of course, I think of my mom. I think of, his struggles. I think of my other sister. Like, I was just thinking of all these things, and yeah, but definitely my first thought was on my youngest sister, and just how her world would just be torn open again, like,
she
have to do that all over again, with her other parent. And so, yeah. But
how is she today? How is she doing? How are your siblings? How are your sisters?
They're good. Like, my youngest sister, she's got 2 babies. Well, not 2 babies. They're grown now.
Yeah, they're grown now, but yeah, she's had
two kids, a husband. They've got a house. They've got 2 dogs. They're doing good. And my youngest sister is a surrogate, so she's
popping babies for people.
She's popping babies for people. She's
Good
making
for her.
people's dreams come
There you
true.
go.
You know, so I think she's doing really well. My other sister, you know, she had a bit of a rougher go with her grief journey, but she's really turned a corner and she's doing really well. Got her own little place. She's got a cat. She adopted a cat. She was a dog person.
Family.
I know.
She was a dog person?
She was a dog person. Her dogs passed away. Oh my gosh. But yeah. And then she adopted a 3-legged cat, and I couldn't be more proud of her.
She had to go all the way.
Yeah, I know.
Lord, okay.
Quirky, just like her.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, she's got a job that she likes. She's got a car now, and you know, like even though it took a while for her to get there, she's really, you know, thriving now, and I couldn't be more proud of her. And
That's good.
yeah, but you know, that's not to say that they're still grieving too, you know, and they're still dealing with the loss of all of our parents now, I guess, in their own ways. And yeah, so, but they're doing good. They are.
Thank you so much for sharing your story, Krista. Thank
my
you
pleasure.
so much. And Janine, may you rest in peace, and girl, be proud of your girl. 'Cause I don't know if there's anything else that we didn't touch that you wanted to share.
I guess my biggest piece of advice would just be to surround yourself with really supportive people. Even if you don't feel like it. Like for me, I felt like pushing everyone away, you know. I didn't want anyone near me because I didn't want them to peer into that darkness that I was experiencing. I didn't want them to see that. So I pushed everyone away, but that was probably the worst thing I could have done. So, you know, for the grieving person and for the people who are friends or relatives, loved ones of the grieving person, just be there, you know. And the grieving person's going to react in so many different ways. They're gonna have highs and lows, probably more lows than highs, and they're gonna maybe lash out, maybe be angry, maybe do these very uncharacteristic destructive things. But just, you need to just be there and stick with them through that.
Be patient.
Yeah, and like, I know it's gonna hurt, but you know, just maybe communicate that with them too. It's like, this is hurting me, but you know, like, I love you and I want the best for you. You know, I want to support you however I can, but I also want to take care of myself too. And just kind of have that dialogue.
But Krista, what would you say? Like, I'm glad you say that, and it's the same way I feel. I've said it in my videos. But thinking about the pandemic, where some people are thriving because they're just loners. Like, even before grief, they were like, I don't want people. And now it's the pandemic. So even for the support, even for people that want to support the grieved person, there's a lot of, I don't know what blocks, like regulations and all of this. What is your take? What do you think? What is it like in this pandemic, and what can we do?
Well, I know that here in Calgary, we're allowed to do those walks and stuff outside, socially distanced and whatnot. And so I'm a big fan of being outside, outdoors, getting fresh air, getting sunlight. It's probably the best thing you can do alone or with other people is, you know, getting exercise, getting fresh air, getting sunlight. And if you have the company of others, even better. So yeah, like getting out with people outside is safe. You know, just calling or texting, just checking in with people, or Zoom or Facebook, WhatsApp. Like, there's so many different like technological things you can use to connect with people. But then, you know, there's grief support groups. I know here in Calgary, there's support groups through AHS, Alberta Health Services. They're free. There's the Calgary Counseling Center, which, I mean, they have a sliding scale for how you can pay. And so even if you don't have very much of an income, you can actually get on the waiting list and pay nothing for your counseling. If you're fortunate enough to have benefits cover some counseling, then even better. But yeah, I think the pandemic just makes isolation worse. And some people do like being loners, as you say. Yeah, some people are thriving with that.
Like, oh yeah, this is the world. Some of us really miss that personal interaction with people.
Well, and even like the loners, I would say some, like I'm pretty introverted most of the time. But even then, like just not being allowed to connect with people in your typical ways, not being allowed to go to the office.
Yeah.
You know, even for an introvert, it's actually kind of welcome to like go to the office and talk to somebody for an hour. It's actually kind of nice. And so like you would be surprised, like even with the pandemic or even, you know, with grief can change a person. Like maybe they start introverted and they just, maybe with some reflection, they look into themselves and they're just like, I should have, or I should, you know, be a better friend to so-and-so, or I should, you know, really connect more with my family or whatever. Like it can really change a person. And so, you know, even though I'm introverted, I'm not always going to be introverted. You know, an event, a very significant event could change that for me or for my husband.
Okay, well, thank you, Krista. I think we've come to the end of this episode. Thank you so much for being a part of it.
Oh, thank you too.
I am forever indebted and grateful.
Oh.
So thank you. Thank
My
you.
pleasure.
I think we're going to do this more often. I think we should do another one.
Okay.
I think we should do another one. I think it was really nice hearing from somebody, hearing your experience, very important. And thank you for sharing that. Like, thank you for sharing your family story. So it wasn't you. This sharing is, you know, brought in your sisters and your stepdad. So thank you. I really appreciate that. I'm so sorry for your loss. I'm glad that you're thriving. I'm glad that you've gone far along in your grief journey. We know that it's a journey. We both understand. We continue to journey with you. If there's anything, I'm always a phone call away. You know that.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Not only for grief, but for everything.
Oh, yeah, I know.
You know that. So thank you so much, Krista.
Thank you.
And yeah.
Thank you
Any
too.
final words?
Well, just know that you're not alone. Especially you got Linda now.
Oh,
and you've got Linda's
She
following.
said it. That's it. That that was not any paid promotion.
I know. She didn't tell me to say that, but you've got Linda.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
so.
you. Okay. Thank you. So thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.